both of Mustang's boot. I just went back to Forza Horizon 3 was another challenge. Now, this Ford Focus RS RX was used in Ken Block's Gymkhana 9 video. However, it's not actually officially a Gymkhana car. It's a rallycross car. The first one in Horizon 3. Now, I tried to beat a rallycross car in Horizon 2 for using the exact same PI. That was very difficult, and it was nearly impossible. We just about got one vehicle with a mega run to do it. And I wanted to see if I could do it again with the RS RX. However, there are some different restrictions this time. First, no more than 600 horsepower. Second, no less than 2,300 pounds. Actually, no. I didn't really have a weight limit. I would prefer it to be more closely to this vehicle. There is one exception that I just wanted to try out. So, I wouldn't classify the weight as a restriction. So, there's the tires. 225s all around is what this vehicle has. So, that's what everything else will have. Which means I'm going to try to control 600 four-wheel drive horsepower with just 225s, which will be incredibly difficult for these vehicles to do. Now, I did some hot lapping around a, I forget the name of the circuit. I'll have it at the end of the video, the name of the circuit. For the RSRs to get a benchmark time. And I'll also list the times at the end. The Focus was phenomenal to drive. Even though it only has 225s all around, which is smaller than most vehicles, it handled its power phenomenally. It's arguably, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the fastest accelerating vehicle from standard in Forza Horizon 3. 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. Nothing rivals its acceleration from standard in this game. It is absolutely ridiculous. It will accelerate faster than a Bugatti Veyron, which makes it a force to be reckoned with around this tight circuits. So, none of the vehicles are going to have that amount of acceleration. But, will they have the handling and the top speed? That is the real question. And that's what we had to beat. So, after I sent the benchmark time, I decided out to go build some cars. So, the first vehicle that I built was the Nissan Silvia Spec K from 1994. 599 horsepower, turbocharged i6 engine. Lots of vehicles ended up using the i6 engine, I found out. Because it was a nice medium engine. It gave us, of course, the 600 horsepower pretty easily. And it still has some parts, so it wasn't on the very edge of the engine's limit. Just a good engine in general. I like using it. And this vehicle is a phenomenal car to drive. I love it. Because originally, the S14, I couldn't four-wheel drive swap it. I don't think I could anyway. My memory is slipping from me when it comes to building this car for the original one with the Tokyo Drift paint job on it. But anyway, you would put four-wheel drive in it, so I did. And I decided, why not? I'll give it a shot. And it turned out to be very good. Sure, it doesn't have the acceleration. Nothing in here does. Nothing in this entire list has the acceleration of that Focus, but it was still a very good car nonetheless. It went much faster down the straightaway, 134 miles an hour down the little straightaway, start finish line, and turned nearly as good, had good suspension, nearly good enough brakes, or nearly as good of brakes. So yeah, no major problems with the vehicle, but this wasn't quite fast enough, unfortunately. I decided next to go with a good old 2004 Subaru Impreza WRX STI. And another very easy vehicle to drive. These vehicles tended to be pretty simple. No major difficulties. There were a few oddballs that were a little more difficult than expected, but overall, the entire group was pretty easy to drive. And yeah, just not as quick as some of the vehicles here. The Subaru was a little bit lacking in terms of the performance capabilities, but it was still pretty close to the Sylvia and the. But it was quite a bit of ways off the Ford. Yeah, it was just a little bit too heavy. 2,500 pounds. Actually, 2,600 pounds. Sorry, take that back. 2,600 pounds. It's a fair amount of weight for this vehicle. Fair amount of weight. And this doesn't have the acceleration as the Sylvia, and nothing has the acceleration of that Ford. It's just crazy levels of grip in all these cars. And yeah, I didn't really have any major concerns with this one. Just a nice vehicle to drive, but just wasn't fast enough. Continuing on with the Japanese theme, the Mark I Toyota Supra. Not my favorite vehicle. Seems a little bit too boxy for the Supra. I prefer the Fast and Furious one, the Mark III, I believe is what it is. So this is a twin-turbo, 600 horsepower, pretty much beast. And I say beast with a bit of a sour note. It's not very good around this course. It's just not fast enough around the corners. Doesn't have the acceleration. That's its main problem. Acceleration out of the corners, that's where you lose it. It's okay in terms of straight line speed, but that acceleration just loses so much time in acceleration. And it didn't do too well. I was kind of hoping it did because, well, why not? I want a few different vehicles in here, so I thought this would be decent. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. But it gave it a pretty good shot. Very controllable. Arguably one of the most controllable vehicles of the evening. But, yeah, it just wasn't fast enough for this course. Certainly not the vehicles that were running that course. Now this little guy, the 2013 Mazda MX-5, stood arguably the best chance of beating the Focus, because it had 600 horsepower, four-wheel drive, 225s all around, and weighed almost identical to that Focus, which means it was very similar. Now, it didn't have the acceleration, but it had better top speed. And it was so tantalizingly close to beating it, but even a vehicle with near identical performance stats could not beat the mighty Ford. That Ford is a seriously quick vehicle. And it's not quite realized how fast it is until you try to build cars to beat it. Because this thing stood a pretty darn good chance, and it got very close, very close. But even the might of the MX-5 was unable to beat the Focus, and we have to move on to another vehicle. Like I said, there were lots of Japanese cars in this one, because they had small tires, and the Subaru BRZ, no exception. And I love the BRZ. It's just a fun, sporty little thing. Unfortunately, when you compare it to these vehicles, it's pretty slow. It doesn't accelerate very quickly, doesn't have the ground clearance. You can see the plow. It's basically making a plow with the front splitter. So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate. I do personally like the BRZ. It's one of my favorite of the cheap sports vehicles. And just unfortunately, it's not fast. It really struggling around here. Really struggles. And no matter how fast I pushed, no matter how fast I went down the straightaway, it just couldn't quite keep up with the rest of the pack. And it was kind of left in the dust, which I feel a little bit bad about, because it's blue, it's got a big wing, and it's one of the fastest vehicles we've had around here in terms of straight line speed, over 135 miles an hour before slamming on the brakes. But that speed cannot make up for the handling and lack of acceleration. You know how I said earlier that basically all the vehicles were controllable, very easy to drive? This was the exception. The Caterham R500 is an absolute terrifying thing. You basically get an engine, a drive shaft, or a drive line, a frame, and some wheels, grab on and try not to die. Because It is 600 horsepower and 1,300 pounds. That is a phenomenal power-weight ratio, and theoretically, if it had the control, it could beat the Focus by miles and miles and miles. Problem is the lack of control. Wheel spin, max tire size is 195s. So although it has the power, it doesn't have the delivery of that power. And also, track car, ground clearance, non-existent. So, yeah, it's a terrifying little thing to drive. Bumps are horrendous in this thing. Traction is, yeah. Grip is none. It's just not drivable. So if it had the control, if it had bigger tires, it would be able to most likely dominate this place. If it had 225s would probably be grand, but it can't because it doesn't have the tire sizes. So with those restrictions, this vehicle is just too undrivable to be a real contender in this challenge. Now, I was looking through the storefront when I saw this thing. The Alfa Romeo Quadrilago Verde from 1994. Now, because it had the ability, it was eligible for this thing. So I thought, I might as well give it a go. And I was surprised by how good it was. It is a phenomenal car. You wouldn't think that because it's a four-door saloon car from the 1990s, which looks like a barn. But it is a very incredible barn. A very fast barn. And I really like it. I was not expecting to say that any way, shape, or form when I started driving it and building it. But it's a really good car. It brakes, it's turning, it's good accelerating. Now it is lacking some straight line speed. It's not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest. So it was a phenomenal vehicle to drive. But even this vehicle was not able to beat the Focus RS. And this was basically, yeah. I kind of thought when I started driving this on the second lap out of 3, that this was going to beat it, but unfortunately it was not to be. Now, I said there were 2 vehicles that have actually ever rallied in this challenge, like in real life. This was one of them, the Nissan Fairlady Z. I believe this went in the car a few times, the Dakar Rally. Given not only by the, it sounds familiar, and also the rally parts they were able to put on it, like mud flaps and rally lace and all, the whole 9 yards, make it look very cool. However, and it does turn phenomenally. It has great traction. It has all of those good things that you want. Problem is the speed. The speed and acceleration are severely lacking. It just doesn't get off the line very quickly, and it doesn't have the top speed. It's one of the slowest vehicles here in the straight line, in terms of the start-finish straight. So it's not very fast. It's pretty slow in all honesty. Love it through the corners, phenomenal through the corners. Just doesn't have the speed in order to match with the rest of this field or the Focus RS. Now, I wanted to have an American muscle car, so I chose the 1970 Camaro Z28. Because it had relatively small tires from the get-go. It was decently light, and I quite liked the look of it. So, I thought it was a pretty good choice. And people always like to make jokes that the American muscle cars can't turn and are super fast in a straight line, and that's it. This was a roll reversal for that. This was phenomenal through the corners, carried incredible corner speed, and had absolutely no straight line speed. It was about as slow as the Datsun, and slower accelerating than it. So, yeah, as much as I love the look of this car, it's just not fast enough in any way. It's honestly quite slow for this field, which is surprising for an American muscle car. Yeah. A little bit of a peculiar roll reversal, but phenomenal in the corners. I really did like it through there. Only problem was this straightaway, 125 miles an hour. Just did not have the acceleration or the speed to challenge the rivals in this. Yeah, that would tend to be the downfall for most vehicles. They didn't have the acceleration or straight line speed to rival the rest of these cars. So, a common theme arose with this one. And now, on to the times. In first place, we have the Ford Focus RS RX with a 126.726. Yeah, still, no matter how much we built the vehicles, none of them were able to go faster than that time. Second place was pretty close, the Mazda MX-5. In fact, we had a tie for second place between the Mazda MX-5 and the Alfa Romeo Milano Quadrilateral Verde. I've never tied two separate lap times with two completely different cars. We had a 1990s sedan that looked like a barn tie with a 2013 sports car, basically. Yeah. Which is weird, with a 127.321. Then, in third place, technically, is the uncontrollable car, the RS 500 Caterham Superlight. 127.555. Not very controllable in any way, shape, or form, but if you can get it under control for just half a lap, you will be able to go incredibly fast. Fourth place, Subaru BRZ. 127.688. Yeah, just not fast enough. Good control, not fast enough. Fifth place, 1970 Camaro Z28, the American car, just edged out the top 5. Or, yeah, just edged out the top 5 with a 127.921. And then in sixth place, we have the Fairlady Z, just rounding out the 128s with the 128.121. Seventh place, the Nissan Silvia Spec K, 128.263. Very good showing from it, but it just didn't get a fast lap time. I like the car, just didn't get a fast lap time. Then you have the Mark I Supra GT Twin Turbo with a 128.488. Yeah, just wasn't fast enough again. All these cars were pretty good handling, they just weren't fast enough. And finally, at the very bottom of the table, ironically, one of the only true rally cars here, the Subaru Impreza WRX STI from 2004, goes in last place with a 128.956. Kind of ironic that the rally car goes the slowest of them all in a rallycross build, right? So, none of the cars actually beat the might of the Focus, but what can you expect? It's a proper, full-on rally car. And these were just built to be like them. This has the suspension, the technology, the downforce. It has everything perfectly tuned to go as fast as possible. These don't. These are just built up with gearboxes and everything necessary to possibly rival that. Now that we got pretty freaking close with the MX-5 and the Verde, nothing. Now, I do these things in racing because I have these camera angles, so I don't have to talk while I'm racing. The problem is when you lose control and proceed to roll your Mazda MX-5. And then everybody gets past you, and you have to wait a little bit so the other guy can pass you, and then you have to make your way up to the field again. Now, no vehicles were able to actually beat the RSRX under the specific rules that I set. So I said, what would it take to make a car be able to beat that car, that Focus? So all I did to this, I bought another MX-5. I put the exact same upgrades on it from the previous one, but with two differences. The front and rear tire widths were extended to max 235s and 245s. And that did it. That did it. Just slightly bigger tires, and you can go faster than a Ford Focus RS RX. All you need are some slightly bigger tires, and you can follow the rest of the rules. That is pretty impressive. Yeah, this thing, the Mazda is a crazy little car. And with the right tires, it's golden. It's sure it's not the fastest or the best at turning. It's just a combination of incredibly good. It's not the best, but it's very good. And that overall average of very good means that it is able to beat it. So, turns out if you want a car that can rival the Ford Focus RS RX, you need a Mazda MX-5 with slightly bigger tires. And there you go. But, guys, that's it for this episode of Forza Horizon. I'll be back with more.